Usha had always believed in love, the kind that made your heart race with joy and your mind drift with dreams. She had it, or so she thought. For 5 years, she was with Ebuka, a man whose laughter brightened her darkest days and whose promises painted her future in vibrant colors. They planned life together: children, travel, building a home in the hills of Enugu. It was certain until it wasn't. One evening, like thunder on a calm day, Usha received news that shattered her completely. It wasn't the news of family. Ebuka was getting married to someone else, a woman he had been seeing on the side. Not only that, they had children, and they were walking down the aisle that Saturday. Usha crumbled. She stayed locked in her room for days. Her friends, worried and helpless, tried everything to reach her. One found her standing on the edge of a pedestrian bridge, eyes swollen, staring into nothingness. Life after that was no longer warm. The house, which was once a home, became lonely and sad. Usha moved like a ghost. She tried to pick up the pieces, but nothing fit anymore. She got jobs, lost them, applied for roles, but got ghosted. The few times she found employment, something would always go wrong. Poor management, unpaid salaries, layoffs. It was as if her world was crashing down on her. And love? Love never knocked again. Men came and went like dry wind. She laughed less. But one thing about Usha was she had a fighting spirit. And spirit, no matter how beaten, fights back. One day, after yet another job rejection, Usha decided to open a fruit business. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave her reason to wake up and speak to people again. Customers came, some kind, others harsh. One woman insulted her. From one insult to another. But all this did not keep Usha worried, because the money she made were enough to eat, pay her rent, and keep her from depending on anyone. Then came the moment that twisted her path forever. It was an unusually hot Thursday. The sun burnt the tired roads, and people were cranky. The customers were less, but Usha remained hopeful until she saw a sleek black SUV pull up beside her stand. A glimpse of hope, she guessed. The glass rolled down, and there he was, Ebuka. Usha's heart froze. He looked older, fuller in the face. His wife sat beside him, heavily pregnant, and two small children peeked from the back seat. They were laughing. A perfect picture. The woman made the order. 5 ripe bananas, please. Ebuka glanced at Usha briefly and smiled politely, his eyes sliding past her like she was a stranger. She smiled back, a small, controlled, calculated smile. He didn't recognize her, but she did recognize him. That night, Usha couldn't sleep. The universe had brought Ebuka back into her space, and as fate would have it, he wouldn't leave so soon. What could this mean for Usha? after trying to get her life back again. Over the next month, the same SUV came 3 more times. Each time, it was the wife who ordered the fruits. She liked Usha. She said her bananas were always sweet and fresh. Soon, she began asking if Usha could deliver directly to their home. And just like that, Usha was back in Ebuka's life unnoticed. She became the family's regular fruit supplier. Every Saturday, she delivered baskets of bananas, pawpaw, apples, and oranges to their compound. The children loved her. The wife always smiled warmly. Ebuka? Hmm. He remained cordial yet distant. Usha changed her look. A slight limp baked. There was never a reason to question her. I mean, she was just a fruit woman. But inside her, a storm raged. Each smile she gave them was laced with memory. Each fruit she picked was chosen with intent. Revenge, as they say, is best served slow and ripe. After weeks of study, she began to apply a small quantity of an odorless, slow acting chemical to the bananas and apples, a compound derived from a plant she read about in an old herbal remedy book. It wouldn't kill immediately, but it would weaken the body over time, create confusion, cause eternal bleeding, hospital visits, and perhaps miscarriage. And it worked. The pregnant wife began to complain of dizziness, then fatigue, then she was hospitalized. Guess what? She lost the baby in her third trimester. The doctors were baffled. The children, they started falling ill too. One had seizures, the other was constantly fatigued. Their once playful spirits dulled. Yet, Ebuka, the one who barely ate fruits, remained healthy. Until no one else suspected the smiling fruit woman. Usha came weekly with her basket. She offered prayers, encouragement. She brought fresh oranges for the children in the hospital. She told the wife, "You are strong. God is with you." And the woman would cry and hug her. Inside, Usa watched her plan unfold like a well written play. She didn't want to kill her, not really. She just wanted them to suffer, like she did, to feel the weight of loss, betrayal, confusion, to know that everything sweet could turn bitter, that happiness wasn't always free, that what you take from someone may return as a curse. She wanted the wife to feel the pain she felt when she took the love of her life away from her. But fate has its own humor. One morning, Ebuka finally looked at her long, as if something stirred in his memory. He tilted his head and said, "You remind me of someone I knew a long time ago." Laughed gently and replied, "Maybe in another life, sir." And with that, she handed him a bunch of perfectly yellow bananas and walked away, vanishing into the morning crowd, her story untold, her pain unseen, yet her smile lingered. When they got discharged, the atmosphere had shifted from warm and lovely to cold and uncertain. After weeks of unexplained sickness, miscarriage, and hospital runs, Ebuka and his wife had grown paranoid. Blood tests, stool samples, scans, all inconclusive, except for one
terrifying lead: food poisoning. "It is not possible," Ebuka said. "We eat homemade meals. The children eat well and healthy. So how come the food poisoning?" And so they began to pay closer attention to what was cooked and became more conscious of their hygiene. But not once, not even for a moment, did anyone think of Usha. Her. She was the kind banana seller who now came inside the house to drop fresh fruit baskets twice a week. And she was always ready with a comforting smile each time she came to drop off the fruit basket. Usha stood quietly by her umbrella that morning, watching as cars drove past. Her hands moved mechanically as she arranged the ripe bananas in neat rows. But her eyes were fixed on the street corner where the family's black SUV usually turned. They hadn't come in 2 days, and she was wondering what could be the reason why they have not visited or called her to bring fruits for them. Then she decided to pay a visit. After her visit, she noticed Abby's tummy had reduced in size, which suggested her plans were working. But now, it seemed the tempo had slowed. Perhaps the doctor's visit had yielded more answers than she had hoped. And then she decided to up the dose so that she can watch Ebuka suffer for what he did to her. On the next visit, she brought the basket as usual. "You need to eat more fruit," she said gently, then handed the basket over to the wife. "Healing comes from nature, you know." Abby thanked her and said, "Your fruits are the only things we eat nowadays, at least till the wave of this pandemic clears off." Those lines warmed Usha's heart very much. After spending some hours with them, she left for her shop and waited for the terrible news that would be announced in the coming days after about their demise. That night, the perfect storm happened. Ebuka, tired from the day's stress, wandered downstairs in search of cold water. The house was quiet, the children had gone to bed early. His wife had barely eaten anything that day. He opened the fridge and smiled. When he saw the fruit, he grabbed a banana, peeled it, and took a bite. By morning, he was burning with fever. His wife, barely 2 weeks into recovery from the miscarriage, woke to Ebuka groaning on the bed. The driver had traveled, and she, just out of the hospital, didn't know how to drive. She frantically called for an ambulance and then went downstairs into the kitchen to get water. And there she noticed the empty banana peel. Her breath caught. The only thing they had all eaten in common was the fruit. But it couldn't be, could it? Her mind raced. She looked back at all the baskets, all the prayers, all the kindness from Usha. The children always got weaker after eating the fruit. And there she realized that this was the first time her husband was eating the fruit since Usha started supplying fruits to them. He barely ate fruit. Abby was beginning to unravel from the stress and mystery surrounding her crumbling home. Then she realized that she hadn't even eaten the fruit that day, which explained why she was not weak and fatigued or feeling sick, as the case may be. As the ambulance sped to the hospital, she prayed that her husband recovers from this. When they got to the hospital, the doctor, now more curious than ever, asked a question. "How do you prepare your food? Or is there any food you introduce to your meal plan? First, you and your children, now your husband. What exactly is happening?" She nodded and stuttered. Fruit. We consume fruits from a fruit vendor, Usha. I brought some of the remnants here. The doctor frowned. How long have you known her? She said, not long, a few months. Why? Because this looks intentional. And if that fruit is part of the problem, we will run tests on the samples immediately. After many hours, the results confirmed that the banana was contaminated and the source of the food poisoning they were battling with. This got Abby so sad because she trusted Usha with all her life. How could this be? Why would she do such a thing? Why did she choose her family to kill, to poison? What wrong has she done to her? She has always been kind to her. She has always welcomed her with open hands. She gave her free access into her home. Could be the reason. All these questions troubled her mind, and she was ready to get to the bottom of it. So she had to get the police involved. On that fateful day, Usha was under her store, humming as usual, when the officers approached. She greeted them warmly, thinking they were customers. Banana, pine, Usha Diala. She paused. You are needed for questioning. For weeks, Usha watched the slow decline of the family with a strange blend of satisfaction and restraint. She was patient. She always had been. Pain had taught her that the best form of revenge was not loud or impulsive, but quiet, meticulous, and drawn out like a slowly spreading breeze beneath delicate skin. Ebuka wasn't just her ex. He was the boy who knew what her uncle did to her and said nothing. He was the one who held her, kissed her, whispered promises of forever, and still walked away like her pain didn't matter. He didn't betray her just with marriage. He betrayed her soul.